Welcome to The Power of Change, the podcast that delves into the intersection of leadership and technology in the finance world. I'm your host, Michael Praeger, the CEO and co-founder of AvidXchange. In each episode, I dive into the leadership topics and industry trends with business leaders, partners, and customers who embrace the power of change. Welcome to the Power of Change podcast here with Michael Praeger, and we have a special guest, super exciting. We have Sara Grafals here today in studio. Sara, longtime AvidXchange customer, but she is the Senior Vice President of Regional Finance at the Speedway Motorsports. Many of you probably are be interested to know, a former motorcycle rider, but she's been a leader with Speedway Motorsports since June of 2020 and has a strong history of working in events, entertainment industry. Previously worked at Sonoma Raceway for 23 years. So skilled in budgeting, risk management, administration, team building, and public speaking. Also very passionate about process improvement, transformational automation, and optimizing financial operations for her organization, which is the catalyst why she's here today, joining me in the Power of Change podcast. So what have been some of the benefits of Sara and the kind of the work that she's done with her team? Well, at Speedway Motorsports, now included in the annual, kind of budgeting process, about $300,000 in savings over the process of automating their accounts payable and payment process, and really kind of the shortening the month-end accrual process down to a day and a half to roughly 30 minutes. They're now saving over 200 hours annually in the month-end accrual process for Speedway Motorsports. So a big impact in some of the transformational changes she's done just in this one area of their business in terms of kind of accounts payable automation. You've been here, you've been both around AvidXchange and our work here for a number of years. Maybe kind of explain to us a little bit about kind of your passion for motorsports, finance, the role that you're in today, and just kind of how you got into the role that you're in.
I became an accountant because my dad was an accounting professor, so I knew debits and credits by the time I could speak, probably. Had no initial passion for accounting, but it was easy. It came easy. And honestly, my thought process when I went to school was the last person that's going to get fired in a bankruptcy is going to be the accountant. Yeah. It's going to be the last ones to go, so it was job security. So passion-wise, we rode motorcycles. We rode motorcycles for a long time. We got married a long time ago, I'm not going to say. Didn't have kids for the first 13 years of our marriage and spent a lot of time just riding. We moved west, rode Pacific Coast Highway, rode up and down Highway 1, went to work for a .com industry in California. And things changed. My husband's job moved. So we needed to move and went to a headhunter, and he's like, "What do you want to do?" And I'm like, "Anything to do with motorcycles would be great." So all of a sudden I get a phone call from somebody in Charlotte saying, "I need to talk to you about a job." And I was like, no, not moving to the East Coast. We're moving to the East Bay of California. I'm not moving out there. And he said, no, we've got a job opening with what at the time was Sears Point Raceway, which interestingly enough, we had already bought tickets to the motorcycle race that was coming up in May at the racetrack. So all the bells and whistles started going off, and it was like, this is going to be the perfect marriage of what I do really well and what I have a passion for in my lifetime.
So now that we've kind of learned, a little bit about becoming kind of a finance leader, maybe share a little bit about the focus that you have and kind of, why, this continuous focus on kind of transformation and, making your team be as efficient as possible. At what point in your career did you really start thinking about, okay, we have to think about doing things a better way or a different way, based on the technologies that are now available?
Right. Now, and with Speedway, we have 11 different racetracks and several sister companies, and we've always kind of operated as independent entities. COVID actually helped us along in that process and allowed us to take a look at our company, do some streamlining, and just prior to COVID was when we were looking at the accounts payable process. So that we implemented the accounts payable process with AvidXchange in March of 2020, right before COVID hit. And it was the perfect transition. And this was actually our big push into automation and streamlining things was the relationship with AvidXchange. So that's been the catalyst for several other things that we've done within the company. The timing on it really worked well, and it's been an opportunity for us to show to the rest of the company that we can work across the company as one company, even though we're all in different locations. And that was probably the biggest mindset change that we had, being 11 different locations, was getting people to think outside the box, so to speak, and be able to think broadly and broad term and a consolidation at the same time.
I didn't realize that AvidXchange was actually the catalyst for some of the just the kind of your pathway of kind of automation and transformation. So, after AvidXchange and kind of accounts payable, maybe what are some examples of other things you've done,
Sure.
around the same kind of automation or transformation theme?
The big one that we just completed was on our payroll side of things. We use
Okay.
ADP, but we implemented a system, UKG, which has really helped automate our timekeeping system. It's automated the output for putting into the journal entry, and it's also automated our onboarding system because we were heavy paper onboarding. So now all of our onboarding is automated. It's taken our payroll process, what had somebody working 3-4 days a week on just payroll, down to 1 to 2 days.
When you think about the impact of a business and efficiency, again, driving, cost reductions as well as kind of efficiency benefits, those are great stories to hear. What were the, operations like, that accounts payable process like, kind of pre-Avid Exchange? And then what is it like today? And maybe do a little bit compare and contrast.
I show you a big compare and contrast. So when I had my first child, everything was paper. Everything was paper. So it was invoices, it was checks, it was POs, 100% paper. And I had to sign everything. I had to touch everything, had to touch every piece of paper. So when I was home with my first child, I would literally get a bucket of mail dropped or a bucket of work dropped off at my door, and I would flip through every piece of that every time, and somebody would pick it back up and take it back to work. The contrast to that is when we flipped to Avid Exchange in 2020, and I was moving from California to North Carolina. We had just come back from buying our house here, and the person that was supposed to be taking over for me in Sonoma gave me her 2-week notice. So I'm on the road already. I'm moving at quarter end, June 30th. We're moving to North Carolina, and I'm literally in the middle of Wyoming, approving payments, getting checks out the door, and not having to worry about somebody dropping the payments off. We didn't miss a beat because we went from that paper to the non-paper in that time.
Well, that's well said. And certainly I think, that was a pretty kind of graphical, kind of compare and contrast in terms of, just the impact of automated accounts payable, for a company, a motorsports company, like the Speedway. Okay, so let's talk about you and kind of how has, kind of your success in some of these projects elevated you as a leader, either, kind of how you're viewed as from your peers or even kind of leadership at the Speedway Sports related to kind of now that you have some success in some of these, automation projects. What do your peers think of kind of the work that you've done?
My goal is to help everybody else do their job better. And so the way that I can support them and make sure that I'm problem solving for them, I think everybody within the finance department and even outside of the finance department feels like they can call me if they have a question on something. The thing that I bring to the table at the corporate office is I'm the only person that has worked at the corporate office that was ever, quote, in the field. So the operational day-to-day knowledge of what goes on at the racetracks, I can lend to the operation at the corporate office and be able to say, this is what's going to work, this is what's not going to work, and help troubleshoot. So I think if the biggest thing people would say is that I'm available and I'm here to make I am available 24/7 for somebody. That's my biggest, is to make everybody else's life easier.
And bring innovation along with it, right? Okay, let's talk, change it a little bit to kind of more the personal side. What I've realized, whether it be with myself or other leaders that, I talk to and are on Power Change podcast, is that, somewhere along the way, from being, in your case, a staff, type of account to become a finance leader, there was usually kind of a role model or a mentor that had kind of a big impact and kind of thinking about, what a grown-up Sarah would look like. And I'm kind of curious, was there a person like that, kind of, filled that role for you?
Probably not. Honestly, I don't know if I had a role model as much as just various number of role models throughout my career, probably just mentors in each job that I had that I learned from, learned good and bad from, things that kind of like parenting. It's like you learn what you want to do, what you don't want to do. And you learn that from your managers that you have along the way. So I've had managers that I'm not going to do that, but I've taken little bits and pieces from managers that I've had along the way and just tried to internalize that. I'm big on constructive criticism. So I look a lot all along the way. I've always asked my employees to give me
Right.
candid, honest, discreet feedback. And I've always tried to take that and really grow from that is probably the biggest thing.
Well, there's a lot of nuggets of wisdom in that. I'm going to pick on kind of one of them that you talked about, and that's like, you learn a little bit by parenting. Well, man, my experience with parenting is there's a lot of value in kind of routines that you have and rhythms that you do, with your kids. But I'm kind of curious for you, what's some of maybe a personal routine or something that you do, whether it be every week or every day, to kind of get ready for the week or the day ahead?
Usually I've spent about 30 minutes in bed just thinking through the calendar for the day, what's going on, say a little prayer, a little Bible time, and then just really start checking, marking what's going to be the priority for the day.
Yeah.
The day never goes like it's supposed to.
Yeah.
And as long as I feel like I've gotten something accomplished and I can check off at least one thing off of my list for the day, then it's been good. But being able to be flexible and be able to roll with the day makes a big difference.
This has been awesome in terms of like, not only learning about the impact that, automation has had on Sarah's organization, but also, the impact related to kind of personally and how she's kind of navigated her career to be such an innovation leader for her business. And so with that, I think there's a lot of nuggets related to understanding your business process, related to, how do you go about the steps of automating it, to some of the things about, how you support your teammates and really be inclusive and bring your teammates along in this journey that Sarah did a great job of articulating. And so I think as it relates to, viewers that want to know more, we have Sarah's story that's on the AvidXchange website, avidexchange.com. And I just want to thank Sarah for being on today's show and sharing her both experiences and some nuggets of wisdom with us. So thank you, Sarah.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thanks for listening to The Power of Change, presented by AvidXchange. If you like what you've heard, subscribe to our channel and leave a 5-star review. While you're waiting for the next episode, head on over to avidexchange.com for our latest research reports and business insights. And if you're interested in learning more about accounts payable automation from AvidXchange, click the link in our show notes to connect with our experts. Thanks again for listening to The Power of Change. We'll see you next time.